Hello and welcome back to How About That Crypto. You are watching your almost daily crypto news and updates with your host, Bitcoin Stylist on Twitter. And I come here throughout the week to keep you up to date on all the latest. I have not been around for a few days because I was celebrating my birthday and I just came up for air. And as I coming up for air, I noticed that the rate hikes just happened, and today we're supposed to get the GDP numbers. What does all that mean? Not to worry, I'll explain it all. But first, if you like the content or don't like the content, please let me know. Leave me a comment below. If you're listening on podcast, please give me 5 stars and follow me. If you're watching on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button, ring the bell. It helps support the channel. It doesn't cost you anything. Leave me a comment. It helps support me a lot. And just remember, this is not financial advice. This is for entertainment purposes only. You can use the links below to do your own research. All right, now I'm going to share my screen and dive right in. All right. Author Arjun Karpal reports for CNBC, Bitcoin briefly jumps above 23,000 as it attempts another rally. Do this. Make this box a little smaller. As it attempts another rally following the Fed rate hike. So what's all of that about? I think the big question is, when the rates increase, the rates go up. It's usually a negative thing. That's increasing greater opportunity costs for not keeping your money in the US dollar and keeping it in something else. It also does a bunch of other stuff. Now, what's important to crypto is, it says here, Bitcoin rose above 23,000 late Wednesday, following stocks higher after the U.S. Federal raised rates, but suggested the pace of hikes would slow. So there was a suggestion by the FOMC, the Federal Open Market Committee, who is the one who make these decisions, and they said that interest rate hikes should be able to slow them down sooner than later. It's how it sounded to me. The world's largest cryptocurrency has been trading within a range of 20,000 to just over 24,000 since mid-June, after a brutal crash this year wiped out 50% of its value. The cryptocurrency market has been battered, with billions of dollars being wiped out of macroeconomic issues have taken their toll, and companies have imploded. So we've been talking a lot about the macro issues. Macro issues such as, Russia cutting gas supplies to Europe, rising food prices sparking concerns about instability in developing markets, and the US dollars going up, all major developed market against major market currencies this year. So that just means that people want to move into the dollar. It's safe. We're in a risk-off environment. There's too many bad things going on in the world. So, and raising interest rates is just another not positive thing. But saying that eventually we see a move where we can go downwards, that means that there's some level of confidence, or at least that's how the market is looking at it. Now, an important thing coming today is GDP numbers. Why is this important? This says here, this is an article on Crypto Briefing by Tom Carreras called Bitcoin Up as Fed Announces 0.75 point rate hike. All right. It says here, a recession has historically been identified by 2 consecutive quarterly declines in GDP. The GDP numbers for the second quarter of the year will be released tomorrow, or today, actually. And the White House has seemingly been preparing the public for the announcement in advance. Last week, it published a blog post on the matter before sharing an interview transcript in which Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen argued that 2 consecutive quarters would not indicate that the country was in a recession, because the Bureau of Economic Analysis looks at a broad range of data. President Biden said on Monday that the U.S. was not going to be in a recession in response to a reporter's question about tomorrow's GDP print, or today's GDP print. And yesterday's economic advisor Brian Deese reiterated Yellen's argument in the White House. So basically, the White House is trying to say, hey, everybody, it's not just 2 consecutive quarters of decline in GDP that marks a recession. There's a lot more information. Some people say this is them just moving the goalposts so they don't have to admit they're in a recession as we lead up to an election. And just based on my own personal feelings about the government in general, and this sounds like that's probably what's happening. However, at the same time, there is historical reference to that. That's not the only metric for measuring a recession, but bottom line is people are hungry, people can't want to travel, it's tough because costs are high, and so people are hurting, and hopefully this stops. Hopefully inflation is going to abate, and this can all start to kind of dissipate. Hopefully we don't have to go into recession, which means that recessions usually mean that unemployment goes up. So hopefully that doesn't happen. All right. And just to like kind of wrap this whole thing up, Joanna Ossinger and Muao Shen report for Yahoo Finance. This looks like it comes from Bloomberg. Cryptocurrencies slump while U.S. regulatory scrutiny increases. I just want to read something here. Okay, so not only do we have inflation going up, but signaling a positive, but rates going up, signaling a potential rate decline, and not decline, but a reduction of increase of rates. So that's still not that great because rates are going to still continue to climb. We have all of these other headwinds from the macro issues like Russia, China, supply chains, inflation, war, blah, blah. So, well, we also have crypto specific stuff going on. We have a bunch of regulatory oversight in the industry that has come. Coinbase Global is facing a U.S. probe into whether it improperly let Americans trade digital assets that should have been registered as securities. So the SEC is going after Coinbase and probably going to go after other exchanges that list any crypto that they deem a security, because the SEC regulates securities. And so if you're a security and you're not registered, then you're illegally selling your crypto and you're going to face fines there. Now, what happens to the exchanges? The exchanges could be forced to register the SEC, and not really sure why that's such a problem, other than there's a lot more scrutiny that goes into it. There's a bunch of different rules right now. They don't have to deal with the SEC. They deal with the CFTC because they're supposed to be listing non-securities. And the bottom line is we don't have any real clarity over how the SEC is deciding which crypto is a security and which is not. Really, to a lot of people, it feels like they're picking and choosing winners and losers. So until the SEC gives clarity on how they're deciding this, how is Coinbase supposed to know whether or not they're listing a security or a commodity? So really the SEC, all they're doing is saying, I'm not going to tell you what the rules are. I'm just going to tell you when you break them. And that is not their job. So Congress needs to get their act together and put together and sign and agree on some crypto regulation that includes this matter. Rival exchange Kraken is being investigated by the Treasury Department over whether it allowed users in Iran to trade on the platform. It sounds like it's pretty bad. I mean, you're violating sanctions here. And then the article continues to go on and say that about the geopolitical issues with Russia and food prices and gas prices in Europe. And it says U.S. dollar is up, like I said earlier, and rising. It says rising geopolitical tensions might provide some underlying support for the dollar, which could drag down risk appetite, which would weigh on cryptos. So bottom line is, no matter what anyone says, I believe that we're a ways away from a bull market in crypto. That's one of the other reasons why there hasn't been a whole lot of news other than repeating the same thing over and over and over and thinking of the worst possible scenarios and the best possible scenarios. And I don't want to be here slinging hopium, but also being like a doomsayer. And so I'm going to try to focus on actual changes. I'll obviously stop in and say, hey, we're still waiting on things to change. But we are still experiencing some fallout, and there is some regulation stuff going on. with the SEC, listing 9 cryptos that it considers securities. So hopefully something comes of this. And then there was some rumors here in Washington, D.C. with some people in the know that we could be seeing a crypto bill passed before the election. I think that that's very positive, optimistic thinking. I'm not so optimistic, but that would be a huge positive. So, what do you think? Do you think that there's anything that will help make prices go up or help with the more adoption or anything? Please let me know. Leave a comment below. I want to hear from you and tell me what you think about all this. And I will talk to y'all later. Hodl on.